Google's just unveiled a huge Android 16 overhaul we've all been waiting for the past couple of years, but it also includes updates for your smartwatch with Wear OS 6. And it looks a little bit different, so yeah, let's get into it. If you want more Wear OS though, and well, I do, as much as you probably do, then you know to hit that subscribe button to get more content on our favourite mobile platform, and especially for those with wearables. Yeah, you know it makes sense, but let's get back to this video. So I don't want to bore you with too many details right at the top of this video, but basically the backbone of the entire Android 16 and Wear OS 6 redesign is Material 3 Expressive. This leaked a few weeks ago, and Google has gone into details during the Android show. To be honest, I will say it's more just colours, shapes, a little more of what Google is calling, well, in air quotes, personality. I can sort of agree, but the visuals are definitely a step ahead of what we saw with Dynamic Colour and Material U over the past few years. So on your watch, Material 3 Expressive has been tailored to specifically take better advantage of the round display. I'm actually not sure how Google is accounting for any future wearables that might go square or have other shapes, but that's whatever, that's for them to deal with. Honestly, I will say the changes aren't exactly huge, at least they don't seem all that apparent right away anyway. Given the dimension constraints, the fact that your watch displays the time most of the time, and the fact that apps aren't going to be ideal for smaller form factors, realistically, there's only so much you can do with a wearable anyway, so what they've done, from what I can see, looks pretty good. I think Google, though, has taken lots of time to enhance how you experience at least using a Wear OS watch. There are little tweaks to the animations to be more fluid, but most importantly, these animations should better flow with the curved display that I just alluded to, rather than the curved edges of the display itself. You know what I mean, the dome shape of a regular device, not the actual glass dome curve on the Pixel Watch, for instance. One thing I would note right away is that in the brief demo clips that Google shared with us, there seems to be more information packed in vast areas of the screen itself. You sort of need to make things information dense on smaller screens anyway, especially a watch. The app tiles look like they're more packed, specifically the one showing YouTube Music. It just has more obvious buttons, and there's the contact tile as well. I think it has clearer separation between each toggle and the controls themselves. And even the pin entry screen, well, it has massive buttons now that remind me of the Google Calculator application, and I mean that in a really, really good way, because it just means they're easier to press, easier to see what you're pressing, and there's all these neat little flourishes and neat animations that all come over from these phone versions. They're intact here on the wearable. Obviously, these are just flashy demo images, and the videos as well. They're all polished to perfection, and they're in the ideal circumstances, but Google has really been working hard to improve animations across all of Android over the past couple of years, so I'm actually really excited to see how fluid my Pixel Watch will feel once this update is available later this year. There is also a greater emphasis in your Wear OS 6 on scrolling. I know that sounds like a really weird thing to say out loud, but Google has pointed out that as you scroll in Wear OS 6, lists will animate more cohesively with the display edges to give you a real sense of depth and actual usability of the screen itself. It just makes more information more accessible. Items start to morph to the shape of the screen, which I think looks great, at least compared to how lists and longer menus are currently handled in Wear OS 5. You have activatable buttons as well that react, like the clear all option. They are currently in a pill shape. It's just a little bit better here because it has a larger activation area, and I think it probably better signifies the end of a scrollable list with that new shape, that almost semicircle shape that they're showing here. Just looks, yeah, it looks a lot better. That's the best way I can describe it. Apparently, this is also going to apply to more areas as well, beyond just what Google has shown us today. You can sort of really briefly as well see the app drawer is getting some minor changes to take advantage of that improved menu scrolling. I'm guessing you'll be able to switch between a list if you wanted to. There isn't any information shown about this. This is something that I know a lot of people like, but who knows at this stage. There's also a pretty substantial amount of change to the quick settings panel, and this is one area I really wanted to see some changes in Wear OS period for over the past few years. The small little circular toggles that over the past few years have definitely felt like they were lifted out of Android 11 and not necessarily a good fit, although they were serviceable. They're getting resized or supersized with the rest of this Material 3 Expressive design element shove into Wear OS. You have bigger toggles, you have more colourful toggles. There's also a little status bar with the connection info, which is now in a little colourful pill rather than just being at the bottom. I'm hoping that will show you your Bluetooth status as well, like it does currently in Wear OS 5. I do think it's just insane to think that this is also going to be the first version of Wear OS, as you've probably seen already, with any dynamic colour theming baked in. Yes, it's taken almost, I think it's around about 3 versions for this to be fully implemented. This works slightly different though to how it does on your phone. So on your phone, the system colours are matched or at least pulled from your wallpaper. On your watch, you don't have wallpapers, or at least by a standard you don't without doing any sort of like jailbreaking and that kind of thing. So it actually takes the colors from your applied watch face. So that means you'll be able to pick the accent in yourself, or it will default to whatever the stock watch face settings happen to be. There's no word on how or if third-party watch faces affect this theming option. I'm guessing it will probably just work with the default Pixel Watch options, at least the ones we've been shown, at least for now. Maybe it'll expand to include third-party watch faces at some point in the future, and I'd really like to see that. I'm kind of hopeful, as not everyone out there will use those preset selections right out of the box, and that's one of the beauties of using a Wear OS watch anyway. I do think, though, this could cause some problems of its own, so we'll just see how that pans out and develops. And yeah, if we find out any more, we'll let you know when we can. Google, though, has said that Wear OS 6 should also provide some improvements beyond just the visuals. I know this is basically just showing you the visual overhaul, with up to 10% battery life gains once it is installed on your wearable. How that is going to affect Gemini, which is also replacing the Google Assistant, remains to be seen here, because having an always listening AI, provided you do activate it on your watch, might sap at the battery a little bit more than it probably did with the Google Assistant, as it has more contextual aware situations you can use it in. I could be wrong though, and I hope I'm wrong, because I do think this is one area where people really want to see some improvements. Just a quick bit on Gemini though, because this is tied to this Wear OS 6 update. It's coming later this year. Google is touting it as a way to, and I find this a really weird way for them to say this, to avoid awkwardly typing on your watch screen, which, hey, I kind of think that Google should be the company to fix that rather than call it out or call it for what it is. But hey, whatever, if they want to come out and say that, fair enough. Gemini is just going to be a better, or at least better, at contextual voice commands on your wrist. For instance, you'll be able to use it to do things like set specific reminders. For example, remind me that I'm using locker 34 at the gym today, and it'll be saved there and accessible. You can do more things like ask it about upcoming plans or events, reply to emails, texts, even place calls like you would basically. I mean, these are table stakes for any AI at this point in time, given how much Gemini's improved the last couple of years, though. It is one of those things we've been waiting for a little while. The good news is that Gemini is connected with your applications on your wristwatch as well, so that was a big question mark over the AI platform from the very get-go, but Google is quickly building these out, and expect more as it evolves. Hopefully we'll get to see some more fitness options with Wear OS, and in particular Gemini, and controlling them. I do think the only downside here is that this version of Wear OS 6 showcased is, well, it's the optimum version. It's always going to be the case when Google unveils something. So for instance, that means it's just going to be on the Pixel Watch. I currently wear another Wear OS watch from OnePlus, the Watch 3, and it really doesn't have that much in common in terms of the software look and feel to the Pixel Watch. So while it is nice to see, I do think third-party skins will effectively, or probably will, nullify some of these changes unless they're adopted by these other brands as they push out their own versions of this update. There is also no explicit date for launch of Wear OS 6. It could be pretty obvious to say when the Pixel Watch 4 is probably released later this year, but Google has stated later this year in concrete evidence, and that's all we have to go on. I think it is, yeah, it's mostly a visual facelift, but there could be even more, or at least it will be more cohesive with Android 16 when that does arrive. Something that I do think is really, really important for Google if it wants that tighter product ecosystem that a lot of people seem to like with their daily tech. Yeah, that's how I describe it. What do you reckon though? Do you like it? Do you loathe it? Or do you just not care? Let me know down in the comment sections below. That's Wear OS 6. Yeah, really interesting update. Hopefully we'll see more, and we will give you hands-on when we actually have the opportunity to do so. Until next time, though, thanks for watching, and I will speak to you later.